welcome to Hospitality Talks. My name is Sandra Fuentes. I'm the PR and Marco Manager at Hosco, and I'm very glad that you're joining us today to learn, of course, the steps you need to take to make a virtual event successful. With me today, I have Pilar Navarro, who is the Business Events Professor at the EUROAULA. She'll be sharing her more than 25 years of experience conducting successful events. No secret for everyone, right, that last year, 2020, we had to jump into fully online, especially the events sector. And not only events, our lives moved to online, classes moved to online, and our work as well. So we're eager to hear everything she has to share with us today. And before I give her the room, I just want you to remind you who we are, what moves us, what motivates Hosco. As you might know, we were founded in 2011 in Geneva, Switzerland, with one clear goal, which is empowering and uniting the entire hospitality industry. Which that means is that we are trying to unite all of its professionals, its students, the schools around the world, and of course the companies that provide opportunities to all these amazing professionals. Every day we get one step closer to achieving our goal. And at the moment we have 1.5 million members in our platform. We have more than 400 hospitality schools, educational centers, and associations, and more than 7,000 companies from the industry around the world. If you haven't visited Hosco recently, which I know you have because you heard from this webinar through Hosco, through us, you can now explore different courses. On the top menu now you have courses, and you will see a tab called New. There you can explore certificates, bachelor degrees, master's degrees, and different courses to help you either skill something or find or improve a skill that you don't have, or upskill or reskill, and so you can get very prepared for when the industry is back to fully back to its speed, to its full speed. Two things I want you to remind you of before we begin and before I give the room to Pilar is that at the bottom of your screen you should see a little box, a little button that's called Q&A, questions and answers. There you can submit your questions, which will be answered at the end of the session. So during these sessions, which should last an hour, by 12 we will be saying our goodbyes. We'll be around, I would say, 15 minutes before we end the session answering your questions. I'll be monitoring them very closely and picking the ones that I think address the majority of your doubts about even virtual event planning. And one other thing is that on Wednesday, we'll be sending the recording of this webinar to every one of you, to the email you used to register for this Zoom webinar. And so you can watch it again if you want to kind of clarify a point or something that you maybe missed during this presentation. So you will be receiving that in your email next Wednesday. So that's all from my side. Pilar, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your experience. I think this will be a very useful webinar for everyone. As I said, no secret that we're still in the online mode. We're still connecting through the screen, right? And hopefully very soon we can go back to see each other face to face offline. But for now, this is what we have, so we're trying to make the most out of it. And Pilar, the room is all yours. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much to Hosco. Thank you very much to EUROAULA for giving me this possibility to share my experience with the audience. And well, thanks a lot to be here to all the audience. Okay, well, my name is Pilar Navarro. I used to work in the events sector for around 25 years, more or less. And for the last year, I jumped into the virtual events as a need for the nowadays market. Okay. Well, related with that, I used to work in Fira Barcelona. Fira Barcelona is one of the big organizers, trade shows, congresses around the world. We are the second largest venue, as well as we have several events as a reference. Okay. Well, right now for today, I want to share my screen. Okay, in order to jump in a very interesting thing that is what is going on and how to settle down virtual events. important before to begin is that you have to be your mind a little bit open, very open in order to jump in a very unknown territory. Okay, that's something that it will be easier in front of a new challenge that we have, that is the virtual events. In this challenge, I would share the screen. Wait for a moment, and we see the full screen in a moment. Let me do it well. Okay, let me. Here, I think in a moment you will see all the screen. In some cases, some technical things have to be done. Okay, today our webinar will be focused on steps to successful virtual events. Also the planning phase. But before to go on that, because it's something that you need to consider, this is some agenda. Agenda is understand your audience. The audience is very important, is the key thing, because if you don't know your audience, probably you don't focus well your communication campaign. Important also to consider that it's not a physical event, it's a virtual event, and you have to target it so much as you can, which is the real audience to attending your virtual event. Even though it's a conference, even though it's a webinar, even though it's a trade show, virtual trade show, any format, any kind of communication that you have to establish with your audience, have to think in your audience. And probably the audience is not the same physically or virtually, because the main interest is a little bit different. And you have to pick up, which is that you have to catch the momentum. That implies that you know, and you have to know, which is the interest of your audience to put your attention on your virtual event. The second is define your format. It's not the same thing to do this kind of very fresh webinar that I am doing right now with you, sharing some experience, having this kind of chatting conversation, because this is very fresh and this is very oriented to fulfill some objective. If you have another objective, think about which is your objective. If you have another objective, probably the format has to be already combined with this kind of objective that you have. The fourth is choosing which will be the host, because it's very simple to think, well, this is kind of webinar could be done in any place, in any time. No, you have to take attention of all the details, because the details make you different. And the differentiation right now in this kind of virtual market is the key of the successful of the event. And also market your event as you normally use in your physical events, but taking in consideration that is virtual. That implies that you have to develop your marketing plan as similar as the physical event, but you have to consider other things, because we are more oriented to be a TV program, okay, and try to develop some relationships besides the screen, but in some cases, this kind of bidirectional, okay, we have to try to build up. And it's not easy when you are doing some TV program, probably you are quiet, you are relaxing, and you are trying to entertain you or to learn from someone or whatever thing. When you are doing this kind of virtual events, independent of your objective, you have to be very active, because you have a very important role in this game. You have to deliver information, you have to deliver questions, you have to deliver interest. And the people who is trying to organize this kind of virtual events have to put in all these kind of details in consideration, because all these kind of details implies a technological platform, implies a technological view in order to have this kind of connection. Well, with the COVID, okay, the COVID that we are right now in the middle of this kind of pandemic, this kind of situation accelerate this kind of digitalization that we already have, okay? Because we already pushed 5 years forward our events in the virtual field. But don't forget that the important things that you are doing in a physical is the same thing that you are doing in a virtual. some considerations have to be done, and we will explain you throughout the presentation. But you have to consider that if you don't have a clear objective, a clear idea about what do you want to reach with your virtual event, please don't go. Don't do it. You waste your time and you waste your money. You have to be very focused on that, which is my main objective. Related with that, this kind of introduction, the key important thing, okay, is to define which is the objective of this kind of virtual events, and which will be the KPIs. That means the key performance index, okay, because all these kind of facilities, of this kind of webinars, of these kind of techniques and technical platforms, we need to think about which is the return of that. If you don't think about that, probably you lose the possibility, you lose the chance to try to put and to monetize your event, okay? To give value in different sense. Value in the value of the payment that your sponsor wants to do, the value of the audience that want to attend, and these kind of two values have to be very simultaneously, okay? Because if not, you are not in the same room. Well, you have to see here that the objective of the virtual event and the KPIs have to be defined before to think in any event, but also in a virtual event, because this kind of platforms provide us with some tracks to measure all the things that happen in the webinar. Important to consider in your mind which is the main objective. You have objective for brand awareness. You have objective for content. I want to transmit something. I have a very key speaker related with 3D printing technology that is very fashion right now, and you have to be on time and in this precisely moment in the market. You can use that because the content is the driver, and also networking linked with leads, because right now we are speaking about leads. These kind of virtual events have in the middle of physical and also social media. We are in the middle of that because it could be a tool for the social media, but also it could be a tool for the physical events. That means that in some cases they have a hybrid, not hybrid in the sense that you can be in both platforms, you know, hybrid in the sense in your mindset, okay? Because it's something that is very, 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 very important to consider. Well, with this kind of three main objectives: brand awareness, I want to be known by all people of my audience, okay? Because these kind of events have to be very targeted, okay? Have to be very split up, which is the market, which is my niche market, and I have to go there. Brand awareness. Content, which is the content that I want to transmit to the market, because I am the key, I am the ones that have this kind of content to be transmitted. And the leads. No, my main objective is try to come with people, try to meet people, try to have the email of the people, have to have all these kind of things on the same moment, because after that I want to have some conversations through the social media or through another platforms, okay? But this kind of three main objectives is something that you have to consider before to jump in this kind of very virtual events. And this kind of objective is linked with the KPIs. Even though we are when we are planning events, this kind of thing, wow, this kind of recording items, recording numbers, well, it's a little bit tough in the physical way. Well, in a virtual way, we have the chance with all the technological facilities in order to try to build up this kind of KPIs a little bit stronger. And this KPIs is very focused on engagement, retention, the net promoter score, the visits, how many people comes, qualifier leads, not just leads that, oh, I have 2,000 people on my virtual events, but there are people that is my profile, there are decision makers, is someone that I want that they attend, or is just students. It depends on the objective that you have. Students could be nice, but if you are not willing on that because you are doing some technical seminar in order to sell your product, probably it's not that very focused people that wants that you join this kind of virtual event. Also, social media mentions if these kind of social events have to be split up, probably you can use LinkedIn, you can use Facebook, you can use Twitter, or you can use the different new medias that is coming, like Twitch, for instance, or TikTok, if you want to go directly to these kind of different segments to the market. Because right now, with the technology, with the technological things, one of the most important and reliable things is that you are trying to catch a different audience, as it's not the same. The young people is not the same. The technological people is not the same. Influencers is not the same. You know, these kind of different people have to be linked with special events, even in virtual, and also use the different platforms to reach this kind of audience. You cannot consider, well, I put a post in Facebook and all people want to see my post and all people want to come to my event. Probably you are not succeeding with that. Okay, you have to try to work your community, and your community try to work with your audience, and you try to develop this kind of KPIs in order to go a little bit further with all the objectives that you are settled down with your events. Also, the traffic to the website. If you try to get some people on your website and try that the Google, okay, put it on the first position in the when you are trying to search something. And also the interaction is quite important right now. For instance, today probably we are sending some questions, something that we will answer after. But this kind of interaction is very important for the speaker and also for the audience, and try to establish this kind of bridge between two moments in difference to the market is something that we try to build up this kind of knowledge that is quite important. The engagement is the people who already comes to the webinar or digital format, as you want to call it, seminar or whatever thing. The most successful technology right now is doing this kind of webinars through Zoom, through another technological platforms. It's not a question of technology, it's a question of mindset. The rotation is how many people stay with you during this kind of virtual event. The net promoter score is trying to see if you are coming to this kind of webinar and you say, wow, this is perfect, I like it, I love it. You will recommend to your friends. And this is kind of things that we need to promote in virtual events. That people speak a lot about your event, your virtual event, in order to convince the friends, to convince the colleagues to jump into this kind of new events. The visits, people who comes to see the qualified leads, as I mentioned before, people that you want. I want purchases managers. I want people from hospitality market. These kind of people have to be very qualified. The loyalty, if they repeat it, your virtual event in different times during the whole year, or in different times during the period that you establish. The social media mentions, that implies that if right now we are doing this kind of seminar, probably someone is trying to make some tweet, another is trying to make some post in LinkedIn. Well, this kind of interaction is very appreciated for the organizer, and also for trying to spread up all this kind of knowledge around all the social media. And also, as I commented before, traffic to the website and the interaction. This kind of slide is quite important, okay? Because the other is more focused on implementation. Here is more focused on objective and strategy. If you don't have objective and strategy, even though not physical, not virtual, you are not going to do any kind of events. Try to think on that, because it's one of the key successful factors right now. Trying to see how you can discover which is your audience, and apart from that, which is the needs of your audience, and targeting that, and try to develop some virtual events on that. The first important key is try to understand your audience. Okay, well, which is my audience? Which is the people that wants to attend a virtual event, and it's not the same, the virtual audience to the physical audience. As our experience already told us that we are developing some virtual audience, we get a 60% of new people that comes to our event abroad from our database that we already used to have. That means that we are enlarging our community, but also there are people that they are looking for another things that they are not giving answer in the physical things. Probably they don't have time. Probably they don't want to take a plane. They don't want to do something, but they are interested in the content, in the knowledge, in trying to know something new. Okay, this is very different than the people that goes to a physical event. Okay, physical event implies that you have to make an effort. Right now, you are very comfortable at home, in the office, wherever you are. You are trying to have a click, and you're I have the knowledge here. But when you are doing this kind of physical events, you have to a little logistics to be implemented in order to reach the venue. You have to have your ticket. You have to have a lot of things in order to do that. And that implies another type of consumption, another type of interest, another type of people involved. That implies that one will be the substitute to another. No. It's not a question of substitution. It's a question of complementary. That means that in that moment that we are in the middle of the pandemic and nobody knows what is happens because the uncertain is something is the magic word right now. We need to think how to take advantage of that. Okay, even though as my professional career show me that the physical event provides with a lot of advantage in front of the virtual events, right now I'm learning about what is going to provide me this kind of virtual audience, okay, that they not provide me the physical ones. And one of the things and the key points from the virtual audience is the profile of people that jump in the virtual events. The type of people implies which is the profile, because the profile is the key. I want people from purchases department. Well, the purchases are there. And you have this kind of profile that you can take advantage of that in order to get some sponsoring, because all these kind of events have to be have to have some money back. Okay, if not, you cannot implement it. And the thing is how to get the money. Who will pay for this kind of virtual events? People who is interested in what? In my audience. That's the reason why that the objective have to be very clear, and also which is my audience is the key for what? In order to try to put it, all the communications on board, but also try to get the money in order to implement the virtual event. And this kind of money comes from the sponsoring or also from the ticketing. But it depends. Right now, there are so many free of charge webinars and trying to build up some premium concepts, okay? It's hard and it's a little bit complicated, okay? And for me, the most important thing is try to build up this kind of community, this kind of loyalty of the community, and try to put it in terms of more value into the market, more value for the brands. For instance, if you're doing some hospitality webinar and the people who is attending this webinar is, I don't know, the managing directors from the most important hotels in Europe, probably I would have some very interesting sponsors around this kind of market. And I try to look, I don't share, I don't know, whatever thing that they were coming to, they are joined through sponsoring to have their brand over there, because the objective from them is brand awareness, okay? You have to think about in like a circle when we began, in a sense that we detect this kind of need into the market, and we try to build this kind of storytelling with the audience and with the other steps that we will see a little bit later. But this kind of story, and you get the audience, and the audience get the money, okay? Because it's something very important on that. But think about that it's not a physical event. It's other type of consumption, and insist on that because it's important. It's other type of interest as in other type of people involved, okay? Let's jump, audience, no? Who they are, how we can discover where they are, how I can contact them. Well, we have to do some marketing research. That means that when you are doing this kind of virtual events, this kind of targeting, you have to see where are they, where are they? And we need, well, which is the audience, no? People that I want to reach this kind of virtual event, okay? Interested in my content, and also interested in the people, in the speaker, because in some cases also the speaker is the key. Important, you have to know which is the demographic profile, who they are they technological enough or not, no? Because in some cases you say, no, I just want to click through and I go. If not, if this is so complicated, I have to plug in, I have to do something. Oof, this is horrible. I cannot do it in my computer. But I escape from the event, even though you have a very nice content and you have a very nice speaker. If the technical approach is not the correct one, okay, just one click, it could be also an inconvenience in order to build up your own virtual events. That implies that this kind of audience is important, okay? Also, you have to consider another question. Another question is what subject areas is the most interested, and at that time, how familiar they are with social media, because you have to have this kind of noise into the market and try to build up this kind of social media things. What type of offer do they respond best? If you are doing some, I don't know, some ticketing actions and you have to do 2-per-1 or whatever thing, probably this is something that try to promote that, to push your audience in your webinar or in your virtual event. Okay, also important, so key, send surveys. Send surveys in order to try to keep the attention to the people and try to have the feedback, because the feedback feeding you in order to build up the next virtual event. It's quite important to have this kind of things. And also, and right now it's important because we have to think, we already have objectives, we already have KPIs to have in considerations. We jump into the base, one of the first step, that is targeting the audience. But also please consider, don't forget objective. Don't forget where is the place that you want to be, where is your objective, what I want to get, what I want to reach. Okay, important. Second, define the format. Audience, and as well as you know your audience, you know which is the most suitable format for them. If it's a webinar, if it's a seminar, if it's a trade show, and all these kind of different formats in a virtual basis. That implies that you need a technical background, a technical approach, and a technical tools in order to try to put in this kind of bridge between the screen, yourself, and between the screen and the other people. Well, important, you have to think about live conference, virtual event plannings, okay? And there are seminars, there are trade shows, there are workshops, there are others. Always link it with your objective. Seminar more focused on content, trade show is more focused on networking, workshop is more focused also on this kind of content because it's quite important. And the key in order that to get this kind of loyalty and this kind of repeating is create a unique experience, okay? Something that is different from the rest of the competitors, because also you have to think that you have to consider that you are not alone in this kind of markets, that you have a large competitor, because right now the entrance barrier in this kind of virtual events is very, very simple, okay? It's not so hard, but if you can create this kind of unique experience, probably people want to repeat with you. They focus on you, they have, you have this kind of community, they want to belong to your community, and they stay with you. If not, there are a lot of competitors through the net. A lot of, you have plenty of offerings right now related with seminars, with webinars, with whatever you want to do, but you have to be different and you have to try to build up a unique experience with the speaker, with the content, with the platform, with all the things that you can create, like a TV program. No? For instance, you are, I don't know, you are followers from one program, or you are followers from one Netflix series or whatever thing. It's something that catch your attention and you stay there and you remain there and you want more, know more about that. That's something that we need to create, this kind of atmosphere in order to build up this kind of loyalty, this kind of people that wants to remain with us, because it's one of our KPIs that people repeat with us. Also, and it's very important, in a virtual event, you have to personalize the theme and create your storyboard. You need to create your story in order to have all the people attention on that, okay? Obviously, this kind of storytelling have to be considered, because if you are speaking about one hospitality theme for the industry, probably you are focused on, I don't know, the purchase chain, or you are focused more in the client satisfaction or whatever thing. But you have to think, wow, how I can keep the attention of the people on this kind of seminar or trade show or workshop? How can people remain there? How can people to be 1 to 3 hours? How are people to come back to my platform because they want to know someone. I need to create some storytelling around that, okay? And also, please consider that this have to include visually attractive background. Have to be very easy to drive, to navigate into it through the system, because people, we are very lazy. We don't want to have any problem. We have all the connections through a link. I don't want to have a nightmares how I can connect, how I can do it. Very simple. The most important thing I have with my team, I use something that some special method, no? And I say use the KPI'S method. The KPI'S method is keep it simple and stupid. If it's so much complicated, people don't want to follow you. Please, when you are doing this kind of virtual, even though physically, but in virtual, use this kind of KPI'S moment or KPI'S method. Keep it simple and stupid, and also with some cases, because it's also it's very important that you have your own footprint there. Okay, you have your own print. You have to do something from the point of view of the passion of your professional career to put it in this kind of events. Even in physical, even in virtual, but in virtual also, the people who is beside the screen have to think and have to feel that is something that is prepared for them, and you have to already take all the points and all the things and all the details in consideration in order that they feel comfortable with this kind of webinars. Important also, link it with your main objective, okay? Establish the attention to your audience. That's very important. The third thing, choosing a platform. It is the key for the technological point of view. It's the key. Also, you have to consider, if you are trying to develop this kind of platform, you have to consider which is how many live stream services are there, okay? And you have to specialize your team in TV shows as a virtual event, or virtual shows, or seminars, or whatever thing. But you have to define which is the format that you want to do in order to look for the best platform. Define the audience, the profile, and the quantity. I want 200 people. I want 2,000 people. That implies that I need a different platform in order to get this kind of audience. Interaction. I want the people comment something or not, because I have a closing chat, an open chat. I have to prepare all the platform in order people can break it down or can speak. These kind of things have to be considered. Okay. Always link it with your main objective. Okay. Also, this kind of format have to be linked with social media, because social media offers you some Periscope, Facebook Live, Stream, and YouTube Live. But also there are professional platforms like Zoom that we are using right now, Livestore, we are Webinar Jam. We have plenty of technology around us in order to see, if you are more focused on a TV show, on a seminar, on a virtual show. Always remember, I want brand awareness, I want networking, or I want, the third one is content, okay? Or it's something that I need to put in content. Important also in social media, you have this kind of facilities, this kind of tools, okay? And also it's important that you have this kind of social media strategy linked with your virtual event in order to produce this kind of engagement, okay? And try to have this kind of journey with you during this morning time, trying to cover all the KPIs that we command that we comment at the beginning. And also you have to try, and there are free trials, okay? You have to try, you have to get used to with all the details that the platform already provides with us. But it's important in order to decide the platform, which is the profile of the audience, which is the quantity of people that you want to connect it at the same time, if there are interaction or not, and also if you need some special things in order to be unique, okay? Well, until here, we need to consider important points to be considered. Speakers of things linked to the content. You have a very nice content and the speaker is a disaster, forget it, because probably your event will be like a nightmare for the people, and people want to escape the event. You have to consider that, and you have to prepare the speaker, and you have to prepare the theme. It's nothing that comes by chance. No, this is, beside that, this is a lot of job to prepare, to do it in a good sense. The second thing is the relevance. It is relevant to your audience to catch this kind of attention. And also the community call, the Me Too effect, okay? To have this kind of net score index, to have this kind of people that comment that this kind of webinar is fantastic and I want to join and I want to jump again with that also, okay? And also to see which is the satisfaction for the audience and for the client. Well, which is the improvements? You have any proposal, you have to send this kind of surveys in order to get people on board. Also, the fourth, we are doing like a recipe, no? This kind of different things. The fourth thing is choosing a host, an MC. What is an MC? An MC is a master of ceremonies. It's something that is conducting all the event, all the virtual event. You can have a very well experienced people in and try to develop that, but please consider this kind of master of ceremonies have to have a very strong background using technology, also having this kind of conversation with an interaction with the audience and with the public, in order to keep alive, to keep going with the ring of the event. You have to maintain this kind of storytelling, have to have a conductor, a driver, and this kind of driver could be the master of ceremony. And also the speed of the virtual event have to be considered, and this kind of speed have to be handled basically for this kind of master of ceremonies. Is a designated person, have to be a very good, speak very clearly with a very good dictation. They need to respond to all the questions through the social media. They need to introduce a speaker. They need to handle all the event as soon, and all the details they have to be handled by the master of ceremony because it's our public face with the audience. And this kind of public face have to be very well prepared because all the things is on her hands at the moment of the event. Well, another time to think, to consider. Take 1 minute. Objective, KPIs, strategy, and also audience, targeting the audience, choosing the best platform, always attending to your audience, and try to implement it with all the details in order to have someone that handle the event in a virtual basis, that this kind of master of ceremonies or this kind of driver, conductor, or whatever thing. We jump in market your event. The market of your event is important because it's more linked with all the marketing activities that you have to consider, but also very focused on the communication. The communication actions that have to be planned and the communication actions that have to be developed. That implies that the virtual events, okay, we need to do very similar to the physical events, but using this kind of social media, because right now we are in this kind of virtual events and someone is taking notes and someone is doing something at that time. When you are doing this kind of physical event, you cannot react. In virtual events, you can react from seconds, from minutes, from whatever thing, and you have to be very quickly in order to solve any problem that they may happen. Okay. Well, also you have to see how to play with the social media. Okay. Usual methods of Facebook, using posting, tweeting, or whatever thing in Facebook, in Twitter. You have to select also which is the best social media for your audience, because probably if you are doing some B2B virtual meetings, it's not the same B2C. Okay, the B2B is more focused on Twitter, it's more focused on another type of social medias. If you are more focused on trying to reach a broad audience, probably you use Facebook or you use another type of social media. Also, Instagram right now, you know that is quite in fashion, that is increasing quite a lot. Also, Snapchat, all these kind of uses, all these kind of tools in order to use to transmit your content in every type of audience. Also, the social media posts have to include all the links to the event because you want to transmit that people come. That means that when we are doing this kind of communication, the objective is drive people to my site, drive people to my event. And all these posts have to be developed in order to get the best people and the most quantity of people that wants to join at that time. That implies that, well, you have to do this kind of social media, this kind of links, this kind of blogs, whatever thing in order to get people on your event. and maintain and retain and repeat. That's the thing that we use this kind of in communication. Also, don't forget the event hashtag. You have to put it in all the things, the hashtag of the event, in order to drive people on your site. And also, when you already have this kind of virtual, one of the key things in order to have the leads at the beginning, you remember networking and leads, is getting the emails of the subscribers. Getting the email is the key thing in order that you can put some added value to your sponsor, okay, to the people that wants to pay for your event. Also in the way of their trying to promote their own brand. But the email subscriber is quite important. That implies that when you are designing your virtual events, you have in one moment of this kind of process, you have to catch the email, because it's the most willing data that we give it at that time. Also, you have to choose the venue, okay? The venue is quite important. The venue, you say, well, I can do it at home. I can do it in a restaurant. I can do it in a bar. I can do it in whatever thing. It depends on the type of the virtual events. You have to handle different things. The location is important, because the location is the key in several parts of the thing. The location offers you some broadcast system. The location offers you the quality of sound. The location offers you a lot of things. And also remind that probably if you are doing like a TV show, the speakers could be they are physically in the scenario. You are doing some, I don't know, some lessons, or you want to develop some conversation between expert or whatever thing. Well, you need to be physically there. That means that implies that some physical things have to consider when you use this kind of, or when you are developing, or you are trying to fix this kind of virtual events. Okay, the virtual events you need to consider that would be this kind of trade show or whatever thing in virtual basis, but also in physically, because you are like doing this kind of hybrid events. But imagine a TV show. A TV show, you have a scenario, you have a plateau, you have something in order to put all the people that you want to comment on board. You need an infrastructure in order to have all the technological things there. That means that it's important to play with to think about which objective and also to think about which will be the best location to do your virtual event, because in some cases the decoration, in some cases all the to connect people, the key people there, and you put it all the same thing, and it's not virtual, it's physically, and you transmit this kind of knowledge to the rest of the market, is quite interesting and quite important. Okay, it's something that I think you have to consider will be the best scenario and the best partner in order to develop that. For instance, there are a lot of broadcasters right now that they are trying to develop the small plateaus in order to do this kind of virtual events, because that you can control all the technical things, all the technical approaches. Well, this kind of things. For instance, the camera. No, when you are trying to develop a virtual event right now, you are just me on the screen, but probably if we're in a plateau, I have all our colleagues with me, and we can discuss, we can do another things, and also the camera, the vision of the camera could be different. This kind of audiovisual things have to be considered and have to be taken in consideration. That's the reason why the location is quite important in order to develop that. And also the other, well, I think the most important thing for me, and this is one of the latest part of my speaking today, my speech today, is that the team is so important. You cannot imagine, because besides this kind of very virtual activities, it's a team. It's a human being that is handling this kind of thing. In this human being, you have to see different activities and different areas. You have to think about the visual team, that means all the broadcasts. You have to see all the things related with content, okay, which is the communication team, and also the operations team and manager. All these kind of things, even though it's a very virtual event, even though it's like this kind of webinar that wow, I connected, I just see two people on the screen, but probably you don't see that there are, besides the screen, a lot of people doing their job, trying to establish the connection, trying to see that the speaker is going well, trying to see that all the things is going well, and also that the audience is already having this kind of conversation with the speaker, trying to build up the key point, and the most dedicated thing is trying to select and try to hire the most how to call it, the most passion people. Okay, even though you are very technical, but if you don't have passion in order to develop this kind of virtual, even physical events, please jump in another profession. The passion drives your life doing virtual and physical events. The passion has to be something that is in your DNA, and you have to develop with that, because passion could drive you to have successful virtual or physical events, because passion comforts part of our own profession. Well, I think that's my latest words, and always remain objective in your mind to develop physical or virtual events. And well, it's a pleasure to be with you. And right now, I pass the floor to Hosco in order to see which is the question that we have. Okay, thank you very much for here, and thank you very much for the audience to attend this webinar. Thanks a lot, and whatever you want.
Thank you so much, Pilar. I just wanted to let you know that we're getting many good feedback from the webinar. Everyone was saying how interesting it is. As I mentioned before, last year we had to move to fully online, so we are all learning from your experience and for everything you as well had to go through, right? Because she manages the events at the Fira de Barcelona. If you don't know, that's one of the biggest venues or maybe the biggest venue, correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah,
for events, for conferences, for Congress here in the city. And I bet it has been quite a challenge for the Fira to transform into fully online.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, to cheer you up, to let you know that everyone is saying how wonderful and how happy they are to be with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much also for the audience. And thank you very much in order to help all the industry to try to jump into this kind of virtual and try to jump with this kind of pandemic situation and handle it in a appropriate basis. That's
yeah, and one other thing, some other people were commenting about the noise in the back. We apologize. There is some construction going on in the building next door, things that happen in live events, and well, you have to deal with that, but she's been very professional. That's why she's also wearing the headphones, so we were able to hear her clear.
And I apologize for that, because I already speak with them, but finally they have to do their job also. That's life.
So let's jump into questions. I do have many, and I know you're still submitting. I'm sorry, I see now that there are 9 questions, but I already had to grab some of them. And so the first one I have these, the name is Jose from Madrid. What would you say is the main difference between live and virtual events? I think this is kind of an easy one, but
what is the main difference is the time and the content and the face-to-face. In the face-to-face meetings, you see the eyes of the other people, you see the reaction, and in virtual events you cannot see, which is the reaction of the people, and that's the main difference. And also, but it's very complementary, okay? Because it depends on the objective. If your objective is more focused on content, on transmit something, is more unidirectional. Digital could be, and virtual could be very nice. But if your focus is is more driven to go to this kind of relationship, it's better to go to physical.
I agree. We were just speaking about that before we started, and the reaction of the audience can be kind of a double-sided weapon, let's say, right? Because when you see someone, maybe you see someone out of focus, so you start questioning, is it interesting enough? But it helps you, right? Kind of mold your content a little bit, because you cannot change completely, your content, but maybe it helps you change the way you're speaking, your reaction, etc. So it is a challenge, but both virtual and offline have its positive and negative stuff.
And also consider that is something that will remain when the pandemic already goes. Hopefully in short time, this kind of virtual events will be keeping going. That's not something that will disappear.
My next question from Marco from Italy.
Yeah.
Since we understood, wait, I have problem here with my screen. Something is okay. Online events work really good for most of us. Do you think that they will be used even after the pandemic to save money, time, and resources? Do you just...
Yeah, I think yes, but because it's something complementary. They cannot, they will remain, they will stay for, in order to save all this kind of money, all these kind of things, and also because they are very targeting with the objective. But please consider that the physical also remains. That means that it's complementary in the good senses, because that the objective could be completely different.
So you think maybe we're going to move into a hybrid, or maybe some events will be hosted virtually and then some others live?
Well, this is some discussion that right now the industry has. The hybrid events is quite nice because you are physically and also virtual, and they will stay from that, let us call it, uncertain times. But also we consider that there are some, when the pandemic already goes bye bye, I hope in short time, probably also the physical will remain with added value, because physical is something that you need to do and you have to be addressed there and you want to get something from them. That means that the physical will increase the value, and also the virtual could have another type of objective besides that. That means that probably all the things that you are, well, I want to see, I want to try to discover some knowledge about that or something like that. And in that sense, probably the virtuals could cover that. In another sense, the physical have to do that. That's I'm sorry for the noise.
Would you say, for example, that's cheaper to put together a virtual event than an offline event, than a live event?
But cheaper or expensive, it depends on the objective. I think it's not cheap, and it's not because the time is money, and to have people here is money. And if they want to get a contract for 1 million euros and they have to travel and they have to do it, they have to fight physically, it's very cheap. Okay, but if you have to do some connection or something like that, it will be complementary for the virtual ones. That it depends on the objective that you have and how is expensive or cheap. It depends on the data score of the return of the investment of the will that you have beside this kind of action.
Of course. At the end, if you want people in your live, in your virtual event, you also have to spend money on advertising, right? Like you will do for, and that's kind of cost that maybe you won't be able to avoid anyway. And depending on how successful you want it to be, then your budget for marketing, maybe you have to increase it. Which brings me to my next question from Heidi from Germany. Is it easier to monetize virtual events than live events? So the ticketing is
about it depends. right now with the strong competition that we are developing in this kind of virtual events, it's very strong to monetize to the ticketing point of view, okay? Because all people are doing this kind of free webinars or free seminars or whatever thing, and people get used. Well, if I have to pay for a virtual event, well, I have to have a very good speaker, I have to have a very good content, I have to look for something that it would be very, or they have a very added value to my transaction, okay?
Yeah.
In the physical, you touch things. I have my stand, I have my booth, I have people, I can touch things, okay? And it's more easy because they come from the history and you see which is the relationship. We have some experience on that, and they can use, well, they can see that this kind of investment have a very strong return, no? But you have to consider also, because in some cases also right now it's questioning how I have to pay or how much it costs to go to a virtual, to go to a physical. But it depends on that. It's the same thing on the objective that you have and the return of the investment that you want. But also consider the speakers is not cheap. It's not
not at all
free of charge. Okay, people wants to earn the money, providing some knowledge to the audience, and this is not free of charge. That's something that, and all the production of the event, even though it's virtual or physically, they need to be paid by what for who paid that, the or the ticketing, no?
And many speakers know their value. They know how much they move people and they influence people, and so if you're having, let's say, a star speaker, then they know their value and they will charge because they know you will make money out of having them as your speaker. Next one, let's see. Okay. have, this one is from Diana. She didn't tell me where she was from, but how do you think virtual events are changing the customer experience? Do you think it's improving it, or is actually
that's a very good question because it's something that we are working with the journey, from the client journey, from the audience. We try to develop, and it's the reason why that I already commend the storytelling. That means that we try to create a journey from the audience in order to provide some other value, to provide something, some knowledge to this kind of journey. And we have to detect which is the bottlenecks on this kind of journey in order to solve that, in order to keep going with that. That implies that we do some market research quite strong in order to develop which is the most critical point in order to select, okay, to select and to try people on board, to select which is the key points for people keeping going in this kind of events, okay? If I have to put some, I don't know, some music, if I have to put something in the middle of the event in order to keep going with the ring, no, with the temperature of the event. It's something that we have to consider, and in each virtual event you have to think and you have to design which is your journey, which is your customer journey.
Yeah. One other thing is one, how many, and we are running out of time, unfortunately, but we have a very important one, which of course you emphasize a lot about getting to know your audience, getting to know the people attending your virtual event. Is there a kind of tactic or strategy you're implementing because to get to know the people that are coming to your virtual event, so the MC and the speakers can adapt and know their interest? How do you kind of like, how are you formulating that? It's
well, this is like some chemists have to be done, no? In order to put or to mix all the factors, because there are several factors. The first factor is trying to make this kind of marketing survey, that means this kind of marketing research, trying to discover which is the audience and the interest. That's the first thing. If the interest of your audience is, I don't know, having some specialists in critical raw materials, for instance, you have to look for the best speaker in critical raw materials. And after that, you have to fulfill all the communication campaign through this theme, through this item, and try to potentiate that this is the best speaker for the critical raw materials. And you have to try to select from your niche audience, try to connect your niche audience, try to give some content to niche audience, and try to get people on board having this kind of content because they want, or they wish to know about this content. This is a very, like some formula have to be done. This kind of formula could be the one of the solutions to try to reach this point.
Then one last one, and this is about more, I will say, about creativeness. From Judy from Lebanon. She is responsible of a students club, and she's asking about, what advice would you give to kind of run different events, because you make webinars, and this is a webinar, but very topic have been there are many debates. She's asking about what can she make different, how she can kind of be more creative with her events to drive more engagement in her student community.
Well, the first thing is try to develop, if there are like a students club, something like that, my vision, my suggestion, my personal suggestion is trying to see which is the strong point that the club has. Okay, try to build that which is your strong point. In order to do, you try to build up your competitive advantage, and among that you can to create your special event and to be unique in this kind of things. Try to see if the interest and your strong point is, I don't know, you are a club of students, I don't know if sports, for instance, could be your strong point. Try to develop some webinars of some series with the best player that you have in your club, and try to have some open discussion with some trainer, and try to see how this kind of audience could increase the audience in that case, in that thing. It's important to try to discover this strong point, this competitive advantage, and also try to potentiate that through your audience, and try to build up this kind of engagement with you, this kind of relationship. This is so quite important, but this comes from your strong point to try to transmit to the audience, and also see if this kind of a strong point is well recognized through your audience. Because it's well recognized, you have an opportunity. If it's not recognized, you have to build again that which is my main point, which is my pain point in order to develop this kind of a virtual meeting or virtual seminar or something. That's important to get the information from the market. That's
from the audience. And maybe something you could do and run surveys, right? Virtual surveys to let if you don't know exactly what kind of that unique selling proposition is or your strong point, ask your audience, and they are the best ones for the give you feedback. To know what kind of content they're looking for, and maybe there will be different branches that then you can dig deeper into each branches, and maybe you won't have an event with all the students connected, but then for each of them maybe you have more engagement because of the specialization of the content you're offering. And that's it for today. I know there are many questions. I wish we could answer all of them, but
any type of questions could you send me, and I can answer you through mail or whatever thing, and after that we can keep in contact, okay, for attending all the requests from the audience. And thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for all your attention. I'm sorry for apologize for the noise, but well, always you are very welcome to Barcelona. You are very welcome to FIRA. You are very welcome to EUROAULA if you want to keep going with us. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you, Pilar, very much from the Hosco team and EUROAULA for giving us the opportunity to have you today as one of the speakers. As I said, we received many good feedback about today's session, so we're very glad that everyone enjoyed and learned something. And you can contact us at contact@hosco.com if you have any questions specific about the webinar. As I mentioned at the beginning, you will be receiving the recording of this webinar on Wednesday in your email, so you can move back and forth and dig deeper into some points. Thank you so much, and that's it for today. See you next time.
See you. Bye. Good luck.